Hi everyone. So welcome to chapter 5, and we go back to the actual legend itself in this chapter. So hang on to your hat while I just start sharing and off we go. Really enjoying this, by the way. So I'm glad for those of you who are going on the journey with me that we're sharing this together at this amazing time in history. So chapter 5, Elaine moved quietly through the forest. For a woman who was considered privileged, she moved like an experienced huntress. Barely a sound was made as she passed between the grand trees and lesser foliage to enter the hidden green depths where few people ventured. Small creatures scuttled away, and a large stag was surprised as she emerged into a natural clearing. He was upwind and could not accurately judge the threat, so with a sudden movement, he majestically disappeared. Elaine was not hunting for game. She sought the places deep in the forest where the nature spirits were strong and the ethers vibrant. In these places, she could pursue the mysteries and travel between worlds. The tales of Faerie deeply intrigued her. Just going to have a quick drink. She believed she met some early in her life. As a small girl, she spent an enchanted afternoon with two strangers in a meadow. Her mother and father slept soundly nearby in the warm afternoon sun. It was so unlike them to sleep at this time of day. The day was a summer holiday, and the three of them took the time to be together in the safety of their hidden meadow within the shelter of the forest. After eating, something in the air that beautiful afternoon lulled them to sleep. Elaine woke to find two radiant strangers looking down at her. She felt no sense of fear. They appeared human, but seemed too perfect, as though they dressed especially for the occasion. Playing and talking with them was like a dream. Yet, happening in the meadow with her parents close, it felt real. They were so much fun and very interested in what she had to say. Elaine felt quite grown up. Then her parents awoke. When Elaine went to introduce her new friends, they were gone. Her father seemed concerned at first, but then smiled. "Maybe you met the fairy people as we dreamed," he said. Her mother smiled, saying, "Darling, it's a mystery." From that moment, Elaine was enchanted by the mysteries of life. The fact that most people were fearful of upsetting the fairy folk did not hold her back. That was not her experience. As Elaine grew up and her parents passed away, she inherited their farm and forest lands. In the chaos of the times, she was well off and made friends with the local warlords. They made use of her ability to write and her deep knowledge of the local traditions. The fact that she was beautiful and down to earth added to her natural charm. Elaine grew up in tough times as a woman of substance who was respected or envied, but left alone. Many thought she was the lover of one of the warlords. That rumour suited her fine, as other men left her alone. Her unique situation allowed her to pursue her passion for the mysteries quietly in her own time. Today she was determined to find a doorway into the fairy realm. There were rumours and writings that they existed in wild, natural places. Elaine was certain they did. Something she had remembered from that magical afternoon as a child now called her. Your true love and fulfillment lies deep within the forest awaiting you, the radiant woman whispered to her just before the strangers disappeared. This explained why Elaine often wandered into the forest as she grew up. In time, the forest became her second home and friend. Then she felt it, a subtle flow to the earth's energy in the direction the stag had taken. She knew she had to follow. Quickly, Elaine crossed the open area and dove into the forest. She moved swiftly through the trees without losing her footing on the soft and uneven ground. Following the scent of the stag, she entered the heart of the forest. Elaine found herself surrounded in every possible shade of green, highlighted by rare golden white shafts of early afternoon sunlight. The ambience, held in the rich muted colours of tree trunks and earth, was highlighted by dark shadows. In the depths of night, or to a fearful mind, this place may appear menacing, but to Elaine, it spoke of untamed love. Elaine was driven to move deeper into this love until everything began to shift and warp around her. At that moment, her body and mind wanted to recoil. It felt so weird and different. But her heart knew to keep going, and that was enough. For an unknown time, probably seconds, but it felt much longer, she was in fluid space. Everything was blurred and moving like the sea. She was not sure if she was moving or being moved. Then as quickly as a bubble bursting, it stopped. She was still in forest, but this was different. Elaine knew the forest of her land as well as most forest workers. This was not that forest. Everything was more alive, and emotional was the only word she could think of. Not emotional in the way of her people. The emotions of this forest were free to follow and express the fullness of their spirit. Being fully alive and truly unique was celebrated wherever she looked, in the light, the earth, and the shapes of the trees. It was enchanting, and Elaine moved more slowly as she drank in the beauty of her surroundings. Among familiar trees and bushes that glowed with life, Elaine found trees she had never seen before. Exotic as they seemed, she began to notice they were still trees of her world. It was freedom of expression that allowed the trees and plants to reach their full potential and take paths that better expressed their nature. In this land, you're expected to reveal your true nature, she said quietly to herself. Well spoken, said a beautiful masculine voice, making Elaine start. She turned towards the voice and was shocked and delighted to see one of the strangers from her childhood. Well, it felt like him, but not so human, and dressed very differently. He was tall and elegant, dressed in grey leather walking boots, white trousers the colour of milky quartz, and a vest that shimmered with a silver sheen. His vest reminded her of the reflective surfaces seen in clear quartz crystals. Elaine could clearly see his deeply muscled chest through the vest. His skin was pale and a bluish tinge flowed through it in patterns like those in crystals. His eyes and ears were oddly shaped, the ears shaped to hear other sounds than humans hear. and his eyes were spectacular, clear and light blue. They reminded her of gem-quality blue topaz and spoke of the great clarity and vision, His hair was platinum white, long and tied back. In a light grey belt, he wore a blade in the shape of an eagle's claw. It rested in a topaz blue scabbard that matched his eyes. He was radiant as she remembered him, yet far more so. The restraints were lifted and any disguise was gone. He was fully available to her in a way that was frightening. Yet Elaine's heart responded, opening to his presence. He stopped and took her in with a look of surprise and wonder. Nimue was right, he said. Nimue? Asked Elaine. That's a beautiful name, rich with mystery, she continued, as though they had known each other for years. Eldirian, for once, was taken aback, as admiration and love swept through him. Nimue had spoken to him of this human, and they met briefly when she was a girl, one warm afternoon in the human realm. The woman he now faced was more than he expected. She was magnificent. To feel what he was feeling now for a human was not unheard of, yet it was counselled against or outright rejected by most Faerie for what most considered good reasons. Are you Faerie? She asked. For if you are quite handsome. Again, surprise and delight swept through Eldirian. For a human to be so open in expressing themselves was extremely rare. Humans were emotionally inhibited in his experience. I am Faerie, he replied with a rich and masculine tone. That does not frighten you? Why? Why should I be frightened of you? Elaine said plainly. Only if my admiration and love scare you, he replied. However, many Faerie are afraid of or hostile to humans due to unresolved problems between us in our past histories. If you are to visit our realm, it is wise to be aware of this and seek allies. Your openness is refreshing and touches my heart, sir. Would you champion me in my visit to your magnificent realm? It is something I have dreamed of since I was a child, when I believe we met. Indeed, we did meet when you were a child. Nimue, my dear friend and mentor, dreamt of you. That is no light matter. She asked me to meet you, to see what I felt. She is mysterious and has a wicked sense of humour, so I was wary at first, but found you charming and very aware for a human child. Now I am enchanted. It would be my honour and pleasure to be your champion and guide to our realm. I sense the truth in your words, sir, and I accept. She stepped forward, offering her hand. Elaine, she said. He accepted her hand. Chemistry is the wrong word. The magic that flowed between them was gentle, yet very intense. Eldirian found he was breathless. This was not normal for a strong and wise man of several hundred years' experience, a man who lived in a realm where magic was taken for granted. Nimue had told him that the magic of love was the greatest magic. Now he knew the truth of her words. He had loved before, but never like this. Rather than attraction to someone who was different, he now grasped how different and unique he was. Of this she made him acutely aware. Yet they shared the same heart, and he knew she accepted that. This was a truer love, and his heart and soul rejoiced. "And your name, sir?" Elaine gently asked as she looked into his eyes, with a gracious smile that let him know she understood and felt it too. "Aldarian, my lady," he replied, bowing gracefully. Turning her hand, he placed his lips softly upon her palm, breathing in the full scent of her. It was incredibly vulnerable and left Elaine feeling fully exposed, yet totally accepted for who she is. "Well, Eldarian, where to from here?" she asked. "Follow me," he replied. "Let's take our time so you become familiar with the lay of the land and the energy of this place. Your visit is no accident, and I believe holds great purpose. We shall seek out Nimue before you return and ask her guidance." "How did you know I would be here?" Elaine asked. "Nimue sent me a message saying I should visit the threshold," was all he said. "I would like to meet Nimue," replied Elaine. The day flew by as Elaine and Eldarian walked through the Faerie forest and emerged into more open land. Elaine observed the Faerie did not cultivate as humans did. Again, the sense of free emotional expression struck her. The Faerie trusted the land, they did not control it. Where things grew naturally is where they cultivated. Their crops blended with the wild plants, embellishing nature rather than dominating it. The effect was to beautify the land and add to its energy. Where nature felt gloomy, run down, or angry, they did not change it, but allowed it to be that way. Elaine began to see these were places of transition, where the forces of nature hovered between degeneration and generation. As she and Aldarian discussed this, it became clear that these places were opportunities for the nature spirits to be creative, to take what was already present, good and bad, and mould it into something new and fresh. Treating the land this way enabled nature to be wild and then find balance and new expression. The effect was stunning. Each place held its own unique beauty and possibilities. Elaine was seeing the nature of nature in a new way. This was not a battle for survival. It was a conversation on how best to express the beauty and infinite possibilities of the divine in real life. Deep in her gut, Elaine felt a profound sigh of relief. She also saw her times in a new light. Within the chaos and darkness, there was always hope, not just to return to the good times, but to become something more, something new. This was true magic, and she knew she had longed all her life to bring that to her world. Eldarian became quiet as he listened to her share these feelings. All day he had been relating to her to the best of his abilities, like a human. Now he let go to what he was, a fairy visionary. "My heart sings with joy in your presence, and while listening to your words, you are not of my world, yet we share the same heart and vision. As beautiful as this world appears to you now, it deeply wounds me that we Faerie limit ourselves with our prejudices against those who are different. In our ancient past among the stars, we rebelled against those who were becoming cold and uncaring in the pursuit of technology. We fled to Earth to escape their influence and persecution. We found a safe haven in the natural wonders of this world. We bonded with the earth and it with us. We became Faerie, humanoid, yet different, shaped in response to the nature of this world and our deepening bond with it. We lived in the same time as the first humans of Earth, but we created a unique space of our own. They were of the Earth, we were of the stars. Now we share your time, Elaine, but live in our own space, different from yours. Over hundreds and thousands of years, other humans arrived from the stars. The first group was our persecutors. We stayed aloof and hidden while they exploited the resources and treated the early humans like animals. What they did to them was heartless. Later, others arrived who were horrified with what had been going on. They expelled the exploiters and sought to heal and empower the Earth humans. In doing so, they created new lands and a radical new species of human beings. We were drawn to the new visitors out of curiosity and for our own healing. They were beautiful, intelligent, compassionate beings, and many fairies spent time with them learning. They took our knowledge of crystals and magic to new heights, yet never interfered with our culture, allowing us to find our own ways. In time, they left to allow the new humans to grow and evolve. It is from these new humans that you are descended, Elaine. For tens of thousands of years, there was sharing and commerce between the new humans and Faerie. We travelled between our worlds, aligned in time but separate in space. Relationships and intermarriage occurred, but they were difficult as we live much longer than humans and our cultures are so different. Then as the new humans became fascinated with technology, problems arose. The misuse of technology brought humans to their knees several times. But it was the broken and betrayed relationships, the attempts to manipulate, the abuse of crystals, and especially the damage caused to the earth and nature by human disasters with technology that reopened our old wounds and destroyed the trust between us. Since the last disaster, both races have distorted and demonized each other. Now we are as prejudiced and fearful of humans as they are of us. Only a few brave souls on both sides still wonder at what is possible. If we work together to heal ourselves and our worlds, could we do something that has never been done before? Nimue dreams and speaks of such things to the few she believes are ready. If anyone can find how this can be done, it is she. I feel you and I, Elaine, are being drawn to each other by this dream. It is not just our differences that are attracting us to each other. It is our longing to bring great love and healing to this world. Not just our separate worlds, which bonds us. How do you know all this, Elaine asked. I did not know until this moment, replied Eldarion. My knowing reveals itself in the words I now share with you. The love I feel with you expands as I speak each word. With each breath, this love rests, only to wax again and reach for new heights. I sense that what we give birth to can change the world. To do so, I need to accept that our love will be lived and expressed in unique ways. Is this how a fairy man courts a lady? She smiled. This is how this man reveals his love to you, my lady, he replied, totally at ease with himself. This was beyond all that Elaine had been taught. learned, or experienced. It did not fit her concepts of love. But for Elaine, love came naturally. She did not have to conceptualize a cool breeze on a hot day to feel refreshed. This felt right. This seeker of the mysteries had found a man who answered her heart's longing. "You honour me, my lord," she replied in a tone so intimate and inviting that the space between them became alive with magic. They were literally surrounded in love. "There you are, Eldarian," interrupted a high and beautiful voice. The voice sounded just like Elaine had imagined a fairy would sound. Eldarian turned so smoothly that the spell was not broken, and spoke to a beautiful young fairy woman who'd appeared out of nowhere. "Sidestepping through space, Cosmere. That's quite a talent. Now work on your timing." "Oh my undines," Cosmere exclaimed, looking at the two of them. "A human, and you two are in love," she shrieked with delight. "You are totally surrounded in love." "Well, it's about time, Eldarian, and with a human. I always knew you had the potential to shake things up." "She's beautiful. Hi, I'm Cosmina of the Sea Fairies," she said all at once, reaching out to embrace Elaine. "I am Elaine of the Inland Humans," Elaine replied as she opened her arms to return the embrace. Cosima was small but very quick. She looked, felt and smelled like a sunny day at the beach. Her light golden hair flowed back and forth in a gentle rhythm. Her skin was the colour and texture of warm golden sand. It was patterned in shades of darker brown that reminded Elaine of rocks and headlands along the coastline. She smelled fresh and salty. Her personality was sunny, and her mind was as fickle as the breeze. Her eyes were bright and aware, with a faraway glaze, like she was looking to the distant horizon. The irises were deep blue below and light blue with white patches on the top half. It was becoming clear to Elaine that Faerie do not hide their true nature. "Now that's love," Cosima sighed as she embraced Elaine and soaked in the love. As Cosima let go, Elaine turned to Eldarian and said, "I thought you said most Faerie distrust humans." Cosima jumped in before he could answer. "He's right, Elaine. I'm just so glad he's found real love. I don't care. Real love is real love, and this is real. This love feels like the ocean. It's good for you both and also has great depth." "Well, got to go. Having crab for dinner, love crabs. Got to see which crabs are willing. Oh, talk to Nimue before you go, Elaine. Bye." Cosima was gone. "She's a delight," said Elaine. "She's Cosima," laughed Eldarian. "I sense it's time to visit Nimue," he continued. "We will have to pass through the village. It will help them get used to you being here, and we can sort out any problems as we go." "Problems?" asked Elaine. "Don't worry, my lady. You have my protection. Just stay close." "Well, if you insist, my lord," she grinned. The air around them glowed with magic. As they entered the rambling village, Elaine noticed she and Eldarian were surrounded by a sphere of subtle light that reached out about 60 feet in all directions. Everyone it touched cheered up without realising what was happening. Elaine never forgot that moment. The village was full of Faerie, each one unique and different. The variety was astounding. Each body and outfit told a story about that being. Nothing was hidden. When a Faerie was sneaky, it showed. You knew exactly who and what you were dealing with. When any fairy did notice Elaine and react, a quick nod or word from Eldarion resolved the issue. To most of the fairy, it was as though she was invisible. Beyond the village, the track moved downhill towards a beautiful lake. The trees around it grew wildly, but were easy to move between. At the lake's edge, they turned to the right. They left the track and walked between the trees and the shoreline towards a house of wood and stone. The house sat on a slight rise overlooking the lake. The trees were set back 20 feet from the house. In the open space around the house lay piles of stones and freestanding crystals. The house was built at an odd angle. The roof sloped down sharply towards the back, and the walls curved until they met at random angles. It looked like it should collapse like a ruin, yet it had an integrity that defied logic. It was wonderful, funny, and a complete mystery how it all worked. Down here by the lake, Eldarion called a croaky yet powerfully compelling voice. Bring the girl. It's time we had some fun. Is that Nimue? Elaine asked quietly. She sounds different than the last time we met. You mean older, dear, the voice responded. If you'd been waiting as long as I have for you to arrive, you would age a little too, crackled the voice. She still has excellent hearing, Elaine said to Eldarion. He looked amused. As they passed the crooked house, the slope down to the lake revealed an old woman sitting by the shore. She was looking out over the lake. Without glancing up, she waved them down and motioned them to sit beside her, Elaine to the left and Eldarion to the right. The lake shore was more rounded stones than sand, and it took a moment to get comfortable. Then they sat quietly for a few minutes. Being in Nimue's presence brought back wonderful memories of the warm afternoon in the meadow. But now, as with Eldarion, the restraints were off. Elaine immediately felt better as she sat beside Nimue. Not that she was having a bad day, far from it. But with Nimue, she felt anything she truly desired was possible. As they looked across the lake, it felt easy to step beyond logic into the unknown. She felt the subtle call of what waited to be discovered there. Would you like to know? Asked Nimue, as though reading her feelings. I have always longed to know, replied Elaine. Then look at me, young lady, commanded Nimue. Elaine turned to face Nimue and was amazed to witness such beauty. Nimue's eyes were full of wonder and innocence. As Elaine looked into their depths, she felt the grand adventure of life. As the eyes held Elaine's focus, Nimue's face and body began to shapeshift. The cheeky hag became a glamorous, mature woman, became a beautiful young woman, and back again. As this continued, Elaine saw the fire of a young woman, the love of a grown woman, and the sheer power of an old woman, all present in one glorious woman. Something deep inside Elaine finally relaxed. Oh, a real woman, she sighed. For the first time in her life, Elaine knew she had met a real woman. That's just a start, Nimue laughed. The true nature of feminine energy is profound, beautiful, empowering, and magical. However, it has been denied and thus lost for thousands of years. Now it is preparing to return. You have a grand path to walk, Elaine, not just in this life, but over many lives. Your journey will eventually give birth to a new woman. In this life, you will give birth to and nurture a powerful seed for the future. The higher purpose of this seed is to keep imagination alive. How this will unfold, I have yet to discover, but this much I know. Magic is slowly dying in your world, and in time this will result in the death of imagination. The effects will deeply disturb the earth, nature, and our world, as well as your world. However, what few see is what can emerge from this change. Yes, as in the past, there will be suffering and chaos, and eventually something better will emerge. That is built into the way life works. But what is possible as this change unfolds has not happened before anywhere, no matter how evolved the humans were. What will be born is something that has always been possible, but never achieved. As imagination is reduced to just a mental experience, robbed of its emotion and vitality, the remnants of true magic will seem to evaporate. Both will seem to die. During those lean times, all the great stories will concentrate on is struggle. These stories will help people cope and promise a rebirth, but they will give no details of the rebirth except to give glimpses of a return to normal. This is not what will happen. Everything will be different. Humans will be different. Imagination will rise again in ways none of us can imagine now. And magic, using the power of your imagination to change your world, will return in ways none of you can dream of now. These new humans will not allow their mind to rule their lives. Instead, they will respect it as an ally and servant. I'm having a sword made with fairy magic as we speak. It embodies the power of the mind as an ally and servant. I will gift it to the human kings till a true ruler arises who wields it with honour. For now, a story has to be told that will prepare people for the future times. This story will capture the imagination of people because it holds within it the truth. This story is a much greater working of magic than the crafting of my new sword. This story has to be told by living it. It will require the lives and love of many human and fairy. The results will not last this time around. But what is achieved will provide the inspiration and guidance needed to realise this dream in the future. I've been waiting for centuries for the right conditions to set this in motion. To get it started, it needs two people who are very different to find true love together. To resolve your differences is to work great magic. The bigger the differences between you, the more challenging yet more powerful the magic you can create. A human in love with a fairy offers great challenges, yet when it works, it produces great magic. Both of you must be willing if this is going to work. You must truly love each other and also hold dear a higher love. Eldarian, what do you see in Elaine? As Elaine's gaze turned from Nimue and they both looked to Eldarian, Elaine was overwhelmed by the sense of clarity and vision he radiated. She realised This is what I was seeking as I searched to understand the mysteries. Eldarion spoke very deliberately. I see a woman who longs to be loved, but her true love is to love others deeply. She seeks self-reliance, yet rejects the need to manipulate. She seeks self-reliance, shows she is free to love and empower others more fully. When I am with her, she empowers me in my dreams. That arouses my desire to support whatever she wants to create. She has such passion for life and longs to be conscious. I'm inspired by what she brings to me, our world and the earth. I see something great emerging if we choose to share love together. That decision has to be made from true love for each another, not duty and obligation. Even to the higher purpose, we need to love each other because we each want to, and still be aware of what will emerge from our union. We have to make a conscious choice that is a correct decision for each of us. Very inspiring, Eldarion, replied Nimue. So get to the point. Do you love her? Yes, I do, from the very core of my being, replied Eldarion. And you, Elaine, continued Nimue, where do you stand in all this? Elaine laughed merrily and said, I guess in the fairy realm it's normal to express yourself openly. They both looked at her quizzically, as though asking, is that a question? Right, said Elaine quickly. So here goes. I love you, Eldarion, let's be clear. I know it is sudden, and I know my heart. It is attractive that you are exotic, but I love you for your personal qualities and character, not just because you are fairy. We complement each other like a jewel and a flower, Elaine continued, turning towards Nimue. I am human, yet I deeply love the land like a fairy. Eldarion is fairy, yet he is a visionary like a true human. We share a deep personal love. That I can feel. He has what I have been looking for in my life. He will allow me to walk my true path. I have found my dreamer, and I will empower his dream. As Elaine finished, silence surrounded them, and a beautiful breeze blew across the lake, carrying her words into the world. The women of the Grail approve, whispered Nimue. The time has come. Then with a giggle, Nimue said, so I guess you two need some time to yourselves rather than listening to the chatter of an old lady. Elaine smiled and reached to hold Nimue's hand in gratitude. The touch was pure innocence. As Elaine withdrew her hand, she felt truly content. Nimue glowed with unspoken joy. Eldarion leaned forward to embrace Nimue, and the majesty of their friendship filled the air. Even the lake and the trees paused, becoming so still, so they could absorb and reflect the wonder. Then standing and holding hands, Eldarion and Elaine bowed their heads to Nimue, and she waved them away with a gentle laugh, saying, let me know if it works out. Of course, responded Eldarion. Oh, it will, said Elaine confidently. Humans, exclaimed Nimue. So, end of chapter 5. Hope you enjoyed that. And chapter 6 comes next time I record this. But if you've really enjoyed this, let me know. I'm looking at the possibility of making it available as a PDF. We'll probably publish this one day and making it available for purchase. But right at the moment, I want to spread the inspiration of creating a new world. And these are words that I wrote 6 years ago, and it's time they got out and started circulating. So if you enjoyed it, let me know, and I'll see you in the next chapter.